Welcome to another story made by Oracle One. In a city that was known for its unpredictable weather and narrow cobblestone streets, there lived two strangers whose lives intertwined with the rhythm of falling rain. He was a man who, despite all his good intentions, always forgot his umbrella. She was a woman who, without fail, always carried a spare. Every time the forecast called for rain, fate choreographed a delicate dance of chance encounters that neither of them could have anticipated. Jonah had lived in the city for 5 years, his life a blend of routine and subtle chaos. He was an artist, painting the stories of the city's soul on worn canvases that he displayed in a tiny gallery near the park. Early mornings saw him immersed in his work, absorbing the city's melancholy beauty with his honey-brown eyes, framed by unruly dark hair that caught stray raindrops when he ventured outside. Despite his creative spirit, Jonah was utterly forgetful about the most practical of things, among them his umbrella. On the mornings when the clouds gathered thick and the forecast predicted rain, Jonah would leave his small apartment at the edge of the city, always without the shield of an umbrella. He'd step out the door, hear the subtle rumble of a coming storm, and for a moment, hesitate. But stubbornness often won him over, or perhaps a subconscious desire to be caught unprepared, to feel the rain on his skin. And so, every time the sky darkened and the city braced for showers, Jonah got soaked. On the other side of the city, in an apartment overlooking the same park, lived Clara. She had a gentle yet determined presence, with bright eyes that seemed to anticipate everything, as if she could see the future in the shifting patterns of the sky. Clara was a writer, crafting stories that whispered under her breath and into the ears of readers who found solace in her words. She loved order, preparedness, and above all, kindness. Her belief in small acts, like carrying an extra umbrella to lend to a stranger, stemmed from this deep well of empathy. Clara never left her home on days when rain was forecast without her spare umbrella nestled in her bag. Small, dark navy blue with delicate white polka dots, it was the emblem of her readiness. She often hoped it would serve as a bridge to someone who needed it, that the gentle offering of shelter beneath its canopy would matter. On an overcast afternoon in early spring, as the city murmured with the threat of rain, the storm finally broke. Jonah, as always, had forgotten his umbrella. The first heavy droplets coated the streets, sparkling on the leaves and glistening on the slick stones. He looked up just in time to see the rain come down in earnest. With no shelter, his instinct was to seek refuge somewhere nearby. But the gallery was closed for a small renovation. A sign was taped to the door, fluttering slightly in the cold breeze. Disheartened but undeterred, Jonah made his way to the park. Trees shielded parts of the walkways, but the rain still seeped through enough to drench his jacket and curl his hair with droplets. He could feel his warmth slipping with every step. Around the corner, under the curtain of leaves by the park bench, sat Clara. She was finishing a phone call, a small smile illuminating her face, her umbrella twirling idly in her hand between her fingers. Jonah hesitated, wet shoes slapping softly against the cobblestone, before approaching her. Clara looked up, her eyes immediately noticing the sheen of rain on his shoulders. "You forgot your umbrella again," she said with a knowing smile, as if it had become a motif in a story she was quietly writing for both of them. Jonah chuckled, shaking droplets from his hair. "I guess I'm just stubborn about it. But I wasn't expecting to find a savior on such a grim day." Clara extended the navy blue umbrella without a pause. "Then consider this my contribution to rescuing you from the rain." With a grateful nod, Jonah accepted it, stepping and settling under the umbrella's protective arc. The warmth that bloomed between them wasn't just from the shelter, it was from a sudden and unexpected connection that neither had felt before. They walked together down the pathways lined with newly budding flowers, the rain pattering softly above, their laughter melding with the melody of the storm. From that day forward, whenever the weathermen declared a chance of rain, Jonah and Clara found their paths crossing as if the city itself conspired to bring them together. Jonah's forgetfulness about his umbrella became a kind of ritual, something that drew him towards Clara's presence. And Clara's readiness was no longer just about practicality but about anticipating a meeting that had become the highlight of her day. Not all their meetings were under the same umbrella, however. One late autumn afternoon found them caught in a persistent drizzle at the city's sprawling marketplace. Stalls were covered with colorful awnings, droplets forming tiny rivulets on the canvas. Jonah was browsing a bookstall, his jacket soaked and clinging, while Clara wandered nearby, clutching her spare umbrella but waiting for the right moment to make her appearance. She approached quietly but confidently, offering the umbrella with her characteristic bright smile. "Thought you might need this," she said softly, putting an unexpected blush to the cheeks Jonah had begun to think were immune to embarrassment. Under the canopy, they searched for rare titles among stacks of old books, the comfort of each other's company blending with the smell of rain-cooled earth and freshly roasted coffee. They spoke of everything and nothing, plans for the weekend, the little hopes they nurtured, the hardships behind their smiles. Over time, their conversations deepened, touching on fears and dreams. Jonah confessed the thin thread of anxiety that always tugged at him when the skies threatened rain. "It's not the rain itself," he explained, "but the unpredictability, how it disrupts everything, how sometimes I feel I'm never quite prepared." Clara listened with tender understanding, her fingers brushing a raindrop from his sleeve. "But maybe unpredictability isn't so bad," she mused. "It's what brought us together under this umbrella, after all." Their laughter echoed through the market, mingling with the chorus of raindrops, a harmony that felt like belonging. One evening, weeks later, there was a different kind of rain. Thick and heavy, raining down with an intensity that made the city bow beneath its weight. Jonah found himself stranded outside a small cafe, cold and dripping, as patrons inside hurried by with steaming cups and warm smiles. He glanced around, hoping for rescue. Then, appearing like a bright spark in the storm, Clara stepped into view, a sturdy, old-fashioned umbrella held high above her head. "Waiting for you," she said simply, a phrase full of promise and a warmth that defied the cold. Together, they walked through the storm, the umbrella a fragile shield but the strength they carried within them unbreakable. The rain washed over the city, but they were alight with a connection that no tempest could diminish. In the following months, the ritual of rain became their story's heartbeat. People might have thought it strange, the way Jonah always forgot his umbrella, and Clara always lent him one. But for the two of them, those rainy days were chapters written in water and warmth, soaked in laughter and brief closeness that lingered even after the rain stopped. It wasn't long before they realized that the rain was not just a backdrop for their meetings but a metaphor for their bond. Sometimes unwanted, sometimes inconvenient, yet undeniably beautiful. Like their love, unexpected, refreshing, full of the promise that somehow, together, they could weather any storm. One chilly winter afternoon, standing at the corner of the city's oldest bridge, Jonah finally turned to Clara with a quiet courage that matched the gentle fall of snowflakes around them. Holding her hand beneath the shelter of their beloved umbrella, he looked into her eyes and said, "I want to forget nothing when it comes to you. Not the umbrellas, not the rain, not a single moment." Clara smiled, eyes wet with tears that clouded with happiness more than the weather. "Then let's make a promise," she said. "That no matter how many storms come, or how many times you forget, we'll always find each other." As the snow began to fall heavier, cloaking the city in quiet white, Jonah and Clara stood beneath the canopy of their umbrella, hearts beating with the certainty that some meetings, like true loves, were destined to weather all seasons. For more stories, like and subscribe.